And welcome to the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin, and today's topic is expectations and how we often create disappointment for ourselves with expectations that we're not even aware that we're holding. And we're going to dig into that a little bit this morning. But before we get started, let's take a minute or two to get present, and we'll do that by taking a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells, all your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. This time, imagine brilliant, bright light, lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, and energizing all your cells, bringing brilliant light into your molecules and electrons, electrifying, energizing, and creating a brilliant beam of light and energy from your heart out into the world. And as you exhale any remaining tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's press our palms together. Rub your palms, your hands vigorously together. Feel all that friction, the heat, the sensation, the pressure. And when you stop, all that tickling and tingling. And allow all those sensations to bring you present right here, right now, into this remarkable physical form that enables you to experience life. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome, Rosalind. Great to start the day with you, and welcome to everybody else who's joining us. Today's topic is expectations, and what we're looking at is how we often hold expectations that we're not even aware of, and then create all kinds of misery for ourselves when those expectations are unmet. And so this comes about, and I think that this is probably something that is existent for lots of us, where I was talking to someone who was saying, I just want to be in the experience of love and bliss. And I can't seem to access that. And because they couldn't access this state of love and bliss, or this experience of love and bliss that they imagined, they were experiencing despair, because they wanted this state of being that they haven't experienced, and then believed that because they didn't have it, that they were deficient in some way or another. And they were creating lots and lots of misery for themselves as a result of the lack of this imagined experience. And, it's interesting. I think that there's a lot of talk about love and bliss, and some people really do have a visceral experience of it, can live in that space, that emotional space of love and bliss. And I think that is more the exception than the norm. And while it might be nice to experience love and bliss, and maybe we would desire that, for the most part, I don't think that most people have access to that so readily. I know it's not something that I experience in any kind of ongoing basis. Somebody asked me the other day, how long have you been living in this state of bliss? And I was like, no, 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 no. That's not my experience. I don't except maybe on very rare, brief moments, experience some kind of emotionally blissful moment. It's not really, in fact, really, truly, because, so much of my life was steeped in deep depression. Joy wasn't even on my radar. The notion of joy seemed frivolous to me. It was like, well, it wasn't within my emotional range. And thankfully, I have more space for joy than I've had in the past, which is great. My capacity for joy is growing, but for the most part, and I'm curious what the experience is for you, but for the most part, things are pretty even for me. For the most part, my experience is pretty constant. I'm not going to say flatlined. It's not flatlined, but it's even. Like it's peaceful. It's peaceful mostly. And not that I'm sitting and being all blissed out in a state of peace, but just even peaceful. And I think that there is probably a lot of spiritual and emotional striving to experience this state of love and bliss that causes a lot of pain. It causes a lot of pain because in that striving for those experiences, what we're doing is also affirming that they don't exist. And I think there's a difference, like there's more of a likelihood of being able to experience those experiences by allowing whatever the experiences we're having to be okay. To say, okay, well, I'm evened. And for this person who was experiencing lots of anxiety and fear, I said, you know what if you just forget for now about the love and bliss, and let's just get to a place of feeling okay. Let's learn how to walk. Let's learn how to walk before we learn how to run a marathon. Rosalind says expectation can create an experience of deficiency. 100%. 100%. Because if we're focused on what we don't have, and the other thing is that this is an imagined thing. Like this is how life should be. I should be able to experience this love and bliss that I keep hearing about. I should be able to experience this deep, heartfelt connection. And if I don't experience it, then something's wrong. Whereas maybe we just have different physiologies. Maybe we have different biological construction. Maybe we just have a different mechanism through which we experience the world. We get to learn what our particular vehicle is able to provide for us and what its nuances are and how we receive information. Anyway, so Rosalind goes on to say, we have a vision, do things to create or materialize it, then have stories around the events to make peace with them. That's, we are meaning-making machines as human beings. We are meaning-making machines. Good morning, Kimberly. So good to have you here with us this morning. Welcome. We're talking about expectations and how they're often invisible until we recognize that we're miserable. And oftentimes we're miserable because we're not meeting certain expectations of the way we think things should be. You know, so the misery, if we're present to it, can allow us to expose the manufactured expectations. And the thing about expectations is we're typically pretty attached to them. So when they don't manifest the way we want them to in our own experience or in or in our experience of others, then we get disappointed. And when we get disappointed in ourselves, then that exacerbates whatever the issue was with the initial expectation. So thank you. Kimberly says, good topic. When I think that this is really, really, really important for us to look at in terms of the expectations that we place on ourselves and others. You know, I'm not even talking about well, the area, the biggest area is when we are looking at the way things should be. We have this idea of the way things should be. Life should be easy. Life should, people should be on time. People should be reliable. People should be this or that. I should be I should be experiencing bliss and love. I should be having this heartfelt connection. So Rosalind says the problem can be looking for a stable identity. It's impossible because it's constantly changing states. Exactly. We have this, that's another idea that we have, is that we have this stable identity. That who I am is something static in nature. It isn't. We're always changing, and we're always affected and interacting with the moment, and whatever the inputs are, whatever the circumstances are, we're responding, we're reacting, we're sourcing different parts of ourselves, different aspects of our being in our expression of life. So Rosalind says, as if this super being occupies space, I have made peace with the desired state is not necessary all the time. Right. So we're not always peaceful. We have our disruptions. We're not always anything. That's the thing, is we are not always the same. And one of the challenges for this particular person is that they used to be very, very energized, very energetic, very organized, very much about planning. And now they just don't have the energy for that, and they don't have the motivation for that. And that is also something challenging to them, because their experience is that they should be able to manage all these different things. They should be more organized. They should be more energized. And it's very interesting, because I also had the opportunity to speak with somebody else yesterday who has suffered with chronic fatigue. And they said that they are working to come to peace with how they are now, who they are now, how their experience is now. And there's so much richness in that. Whatever our lives are, It is our relationship to the experiences of our lives that dictate the quality of our lives. So we can be having all kinds of illness. We can be having all kinds of physical, mental, emotional challenges. And we can also have a perspective on those experiences that enables us to create enrichment, to create some degree of peace, to create some degree of receiving, of empowerment. It is possible to find a place of peace, even in the midst of deep, great challenges. And Rosalind says, how do boundaries relate to expectations? How not to create a self-prison? Well, I love that idea of not creating a self-prison. And truly, that's what we do. You know, we create these expectations, limitations, identities, definitions, beliefs that bind us rather than free us, for the most part. And it's very interesting how we create these very, very narrow boxes for ourselves. And somebody sent me an image yesterday. I'm going to see if I can find this image to share. But it was about disconnection. And it was so interesting, or it is so interesting, that this is really how we relate to ourselves so often. Let me see, I got it. Okay, I'm gonna open this image and I'm gonna share it with you so that you can see it. I thought, wow, this is so powerful. And we can think of this image is of two different people, but we can think about it as an image of ourselves as well. So this is the image of disconnection. And we can see it as us separated from ourselves. We can also see this as us separated from each other. And I'm fascinated by the fact that this topic of disconnection has been really prevalent, or really present, for so many people just over the past few days in talking with my clients. This conversation around disconnection. And these expectations, there's a big difference between expectation and intention. Expectation has a demand to it. It has an enforcement arm to it. It feels like that to me anyway. Whereas intention allows us to self-correct. So you either meet expectations or you don't. With an intention, you can just redirect yourself to become more in alignment with the intention. And it feels to me like it's self-sourced more than enforced. Self-sourced rather than enforced. And expectation, I think one of the flip sides of expectation is disappointment. Because we don't really gain when we meet expectations, we don't necessarily gain fulfillment around that because it was expected. It's not like an achievement to meet expectations. You've just met expectations. But the flip side is you don't meet expectations, and then there's disappointment and judgment and all kinds of other things. So if something meets your expectations, it is the way you think it should be. It's nothing special. But if you're setting an intention, that's more of a state of being. It's more of presencing oneself to an impulse to bring something into fruition or expression. So I'm inviting you to check out where in your life you are having expectations of yourself that when they are not met, you end up disappointed, or you end up not trusting yourself, or you end up judging yourself. We're coming up to the end of the year, and people make New Year's resolutions, right? And they set goals. Goals and expectations are kind of the same ilk because they're pretty much black and white. And usually when we meet goals, we don't tend to really celebrate them. What happens is we are like on to the next goal, right? And you either meet a goal or you don't. It's pretty black and white. And what I see is what's a goal is a time-based expectation. And so when you don't meet a goal, then it's kind of black and white. When you have an intention, then there's more, at least in my experience of it, there's more of a give and take. There's more of a flexibility. There's more room for breathing, for living. So what area of life? So it's different if I was going to say, what area of life, where in your life can you notice an expectation that perhaps you can transform to an intention? So for instance, rather than having an expectation that I should be able to feel or be in this state of love and bliss, I have an intention to be growing in that direction. That's a whole different thing. I have an intention to experience that. I don't know when that's going to happen, but as long as I have that intention, it's an energetic flow in that direction, or an energetic pull, pulling me in that direction to be setting that intention. And you could say, well, I have intentions of doing this by February, and we'll see, because sometimes life happens, sometimes other things get prioritized, but to set that intention, it's very interesting. It's very interesting, the nuance, the shift. In my experience, it's like the shift in experience between I have to do this versus I get to do this. I get to do this gives me it's an opportunity, right? And then we can take it a step further to, I'm blessed to do this. Like it's a blessing for me. It's a gift for me to be able to do that thing. So Rosalind says, project narrative to give purpose and context is actually an illusion. Illusion made real only by believing it makes it exist. If my goal is to be more heart-centered, it's hard. It's hard when the data points can't be seen. So project narrative to give purpose and context. So heart-centered, maybe that, I guess you bring up a couple things. You said, is it actually an illusion? We can also ask, what isn't an illusion? What isn't colored in some degree by our projection and perception? What isn't? Illusion made real only by believing makes it exist. Exactly. So we live in a world that feels quite real. And whatever the essence of it is, I don't believe is something that we can touch, feel, sense. You know, maybe we can have a vague sense that there's something there. There may be, there may not be. But we have this sensual experience and interpretation of our experience. Kimberly says, that's how I feel about my recovery. I get to do this instead of I've got to do this. And it's shifted. Yes. Yes. And you're graced to do it, Kimberly. Like that, that's beautiful. Yeah, I'm not really good about have tos. Somebody says you have to, and I'm like, yeah, you want to, you really? Even if it's me saying I have to, then there's part of me saying, oh yeah, we'll see about that. Kimberly says, I used to be so hard on myself, and now I just feel so much better about myself and give myself a chance and not be so heavy on myself. Kimberly, congratulations. I am so glad to hear that, and so glad to be able to wrap up this morning with that on our minds, to know that it is possible. It is possible for us to shift the narrative, to shift our experience, and to feel better. So with that, I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection, and I go live here each weekday morning on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page and YouTube channel at 9 a.m. Eastern, and I invite you all to check out the awesome programming on Enlightened World Network, Enlightened World Living, EWN, One with the Earth. And I thank you for your engagement in these morning conversations and inquiries, musings, morning musings, and until next